Hi, I'm the Brazilian investor, literally from Brazil. Today's video is about Bank of Brazil's insurance company, BB Insurance. Esqueci que sou brasileiro. BB Seguridade. We're going to talk about its fundamentals, strengths, weaknesses, and my personal opinion about the company. But before we begin, a quick disclaimer. This video is for informational and educational purposes only. It's not a stock recommendation. I'm not a licensed financial advisor and do not make your investment decisions, solely based on an amazing YouTube video. Do your own research or consult a certified professional before making any investment decisions. Well, let's get started. BB Seguridade is a holding company with stakes in several businesses. The company operates in insurance, pension plans, and premium bond sectors. Additionally, it owns its own insurance brokerage, which is a highly profitable company with high margins and is responsible for a significant portion of the holding's profit. The company has private partners that are quite relevant in the insurance sector. Some of them are even listed on the stock market. Note the expiration dates of the agreements shown on the side. The most important one is the distribution agreement with Bank of Brazil, which is set to expire in 2033. However, the companies have already discussed the possibility of bringing forward in restructuring the agreement, with a renewal expected before the next presidential elections. That is, still this year, or maybe the next one, to avoid potential changes in the company leadership. Recently, the company's stock dropped from nearly $8 to around 6.5, a decline of 15% in a short period. Some people are getting confused, thinking BB Seguridade's profit fell, but that drop actually happened with Bank of Brazil. Bank of Brazil's profit fell 20% quarter over quarter, but BB Seguridade actually saw an 8% profit increase compared to the same quarter last year. So be careful not to lump them together. They're different businesses with different models. BB Seguridade is historically a company that delivers consistent profits, even during turbulent times. It also has high returns on equity and solid margins. In other words, it can convert a large portion of its revenue into profit. This chart shows that clearly. Back in 2014, the company earned 3.2 billion. Then it stabilized around 4 billion, and recently profits reached nearly 8 billion. What's impressive is that from 2020 to 2021, during the pandemic, with rising claim rates and IGPM inflation hitting 30%, the company's profits barely dropped from 4.3 billion to 3.8 billion. Even in tough scenarios, the company stays profitable. During the 2015 recession, while many companies took a huge debt and posted major losses, BB Seguridade actually grew its profits and dividends. This shows the company delivers strong returns over its cost of capital, with low earnings volatility even in stormy times. That translates into long-term value creation for stakeholders. The company operates in insurance, pension plans, and capitalization products. It's the top player in rural insurance and leads several other market segments. It only has a smaller presence in three areas: home insurance, mortgage, life, and dental plans. In the first quarter of 2025, 40% of BB Seguridade's results came from rural insurance. That's something to keep an eye on because delinquencies are rising in the short term. So yes, rural performance is currently weaker, but agribusiness is a massive force in Brazil, and the segment shows strong long-term growth. So don't let a short-term issue define the company's long-term potential. A rebound is likely, and strong results may follow. On the patient side, it accounted for 17% of results. Life insurance made up 17%, and credit life insurance 12%. The other segments are smaller contributors. Now let's talk about its insurance arm, BBSEY. Premiums are growing steadily, and financial results are rising due to larger investment volumes and a higher interest rate environment. About 70% of its investments are indexed to CDI, which is basically Brazilian's benchmark interest rate. So, with today's high interest rates, financial income is growing, helping the company's profit. Just to give you an idea, the normal interest rate in Brazil is around 6 to 7% per year. At least, it's what we hope. Tesouro Direto is Brazilian's version of the US Treasury Direct. Right now, Brazil's inflation-indexed treasury bonds are yielding approximately inflation plus 7% annually. Are we in Argentina? No, we're still fine. As a result, BB Seguridade has grown its profits by 32% since 2020. This year, however, growth may slow down a bit. But remember, a few years ago, the entire company earned 4 billion per year. Now, BrasilSeg alone is earning over 4 billion. The company's market cap is around the same as in the past. The profits are much higher, and that could suggest an opportunity. A quick look at some products. Life insurance. It's the second largest in Brazil, with a 10% market share. This segment is growing about 5% per year and has a low claims rate. Private life insurance covers borrowers and their families. BB Seguridade has a 15% market share here and is growing strongly. Rural insurance, market leader with a 73% share. Although growth is modest this year, or might slightly decline, penetration is still low, meaning long-term potential remains strong. Brasilprev, pension segment. It's the number one in Brazil, with a 27% market share in pension reserves. Bradesco is probably second, and Caixa Seguridade is third. Brasilcap, capitalization. It generates over 200 million per year, representing about 5% of total profits. And again, BB Seguridade is the top player with a 26% market share. BB Corretora, the brokerage. It distributes products from its subsidiaries, including insurance, pensions, capitalization, and dental. It's incredibly profitable. Out of the 5 billion in brokerage revenue, it generated 3.3 billion in profit. That's a 60% net margin. This means for every 100 in brokerage revenue, 60 turns into profit. One of the most profitable companies on the Brazilian stock exchange. A sign of significant opportunity is that the insurance and pension sectors are underpenetrated in Brazil, growing around 10% annually. Look here, insurance premiums as a percentage of GDP. In Brazil, life insurance premiums represent only 0.5% of GDP. In other emerging markets, the percentage is significantly higher, so this segment has plenty of room to grow. Also, BB Seguridade owns 70% of the rural insurance market, but only 6% of Brazil's planted area is protected by agricultural insurance. If that rises to 12%, for example, there's room for excellent growth over the medium term. On average, the company's no-interest operating results have been growing at over 10% per year. As we can see, it has been consistently expanding its core business performance. Whether interest rates are high or low, the company keeps performing well. The compound annual growth rate tells us that profits have grown 14% annually, while operational results grew 15%. Even in 2020, with an average Selic rate, interest rate, of just 2.8%, the company remained profitable. Then, with interest rate at 4.4%, profits held strong. And when interest rate went above 10%, profits and dividends increased again. So high or low rates, the company remains profitable and pays solid dividends. Another major advantage of the insurance and pension model is its anti-cyclical nature, with deferred revenue that acts as a cushion during economic downturns. Here's what deferred revenue means. The company receives money upfront before delivering the service, unlike banks, which lend first and collect later. And that fundamentally changes the risk profile. This chart shows the share of financial results in total profit. In the first quarter, even with a significant spike in interest rates, Financial results made up just 16% of BB Seguridade's profit. So if rates shoot up to 20%, don't expect the company to explode in earnings, as most of the profit still comes from operations. Let's highlight its strong cash flow. The company generates a lot of cash and invests little of it, thanks to its connection to Bank of Brazil. This allows for high profit distribution through generous payouts, meaning strong shareholder returns. Since the IPO, BB Seguridade has never missed a dividend payment. Even during the 2020 to 2021 pandemic, with high claims and 30% IGPM inflation, it still paid dividends with a 70% payout ratio. Since its IPO, the company has returned 53 billion to shareholders, 1.6 times its market value at the time. So if you had invested 100,000 at the IPO, you would have received 160,000 in dividends, over 100% of a capital back. And yet, even with similar profits to 2019, the stock price today is lower than it was back then, which could suggest a potential discount. But hey, after all this, don't take this video as a buy signal. Remember, it's just a starting point for your own research. The company definitely has strong fundamentals, a history of resilience, and some interesting growth drivers. But like any investment, it's not risk-free. Look at the numbers, check a strategy, and most important, invest with a clear head. Thank you for watching, and tell me in the comments, is there another company you'd like me to cover? Let me know. See you next time. I'm the Brazilian investor, literally from Brazil, with facts, not samba. Muito obrigado, forte abraço e até a próxima. With low earnings volatility, volatility, oh meu Deus.